They said the album title in the album.
Yeah, they
Right
right
at
at
the
the
end.
end, and I was so gutted. It's like,
Salty.
yeah, I was like, Pixel Bath. I was like, fuck off! Why?
Hi, we're CDR. I'm Matt. He's winking at you, Bryn. And we're here to review Pixel Bath by Gene Dawson today. So, I mean, may as well jump straight into it.
You want to jump in? Yeah, Gene Dawson is 24. This is his second album, first one being Bad Sport. He produced when he was 17.
So the Kid Leroy.
The Kid Leroy, but I'll tell you what, this kid is a lot cooler. He knows he's a weirdo. A$AP Rocky, he did a collaboration with, and he now calls one of his good friends.
Yep.
He grew up listening to, has said that he's a weirdo, and he should really just, roll with that, because there's nothing to be ashamed of being a weirdo. Because during the album, you can't really picture where this album is supposed to sit in the normal mainstream genre. Try to tell me, is this emo? Is this rock? Is this rap? Is this pop?
Gun to my head, if I was to try and classify it, I would say it's essentially hip hop, but with very, very heavy indie and moderate electronic influences, would be how I would try to explain it.
The way that he has said that he wanted the album to sound like was Rick Ross at a rave party. And look, there's a lot of rave songs in this, and I can't, like, my favorite, like, Power Freak is definitely up in there for one of my rave songs. And number one, I'm going to say, was, like, should always be played at every rave song, is Burst.
'06 Burst was my favorite song on the album as well.
It was hectic. I loved it. Grindy, dirty.
Take money, take money.
Take money. Yeah. I don't keep score.
Yeah,
I keep scoring.
yeah,
I don't
honestly.
keep score. Yeah, it switches up in the middle, and you're just like, yeah, this is still sick. The Black Bajor, this guy, whoever he is.
It's odd that I find that the track that I liked most, because it probably has a lot more hip-hop sensibilities compared to other tracks. Like, you look at the first track, like Devilish. Devilish is like a Jamie T block party song, really. It doesn't strike you as hip-hop, right? But then you have this song, and I'd say this is one of the more hip-hoppy tracks. But
very
it's
hip-hoppy.
Aggressive. It is very,
So
very direct.
dirty.
Oh, and that... Yeah, it's that bend.
Yep.
That just cuts through as he's blasting his lyrics out. Really, really good.
Yeah, it is a fucking sick album.
So just full disclosure, like literally the night after telling Bryn that this was the album, I think he had a few drinks and then started listening to it, and he came up to my house and he's like, Matt, this is fucking awesome. This is so good. So what I kind of enjoyed most about this album was the fact that was the indie influences, despite the fact that like '06 Burst was probably my favorite track, is the fact that you can listen to Devilish and you go, this is like listening to like indie rock. And then you listen to Triple Double and it's like this, the riff feels like a Smashing Pumpkins riff, right? Like you get a lot of these different like alt rock indie flavors, right? And then you listen to the start of Dummy, and the first thing I wrote down was Run DMC. It just had such like an old school 90s feel about it as it's pumping through.
Dummy, yeah. There's a difference in the vocal harmonies and all that coming through as well. Yeah, and the drum solo at the end just pulling out.
For me, in Dummy, it's the falsetto, and it's like,
yeah. Oh my god! I was like, is he trying to sing, or is that someone else?
Oh, look, I have no idea. All I know is I really enjoyed the change ups, and the point of it is, and I think one of the reasons I liked '06 Burst is one of my favorite songs, is the previous song is Poster Child, which is that song where it's like there's 4 or 5 different ideas mashed into about 90 seconds. And it starts off really, really slow and kind of just a bit introspective. And then by the end of it, he's just like, I'm a poster child. And he's just like spitting angry lyrics at you. And it goes into '06 Burst with that dirty bass that riffs through it. And it's just like, this is really quite good. So even though I would say the sampling and the mix of the music is sporadic if you're not sort of used to it, once you've listened to it, I say 3 or 4 times, it becomes like the back of your hand, and you really roll into the craziness.
It's crazy. It was like the unique sound that he pulls from it, because at half the times I didn't know if it was a drum or a beat machine.
Yeah.
It was very well put together, and the
HD.
guitar solos, either being the riff or a picking of strings or even a little bit of bends, they all kind of really just brought it into.
Yeah.
It was so random that. For what I thought was going to be hip hop, which I didn't think. I thought it was a band when I first started listening to it.
Well, the Devilish doesn't give you any indication it's a hip hop record.
No,
really.
it didn't. And then you watch the film clip, which I will quickly just say he is independent, hasn't been signed, never been signed, not looking to be signed. And when he does normally go in for his contract deals, like, this is what I want, he goes, nah, I want a percentage of your whole company. Not like we'll go into a deal.
He's really backing himself.
He started his own label, P Plus, which is just the letter P and a plus sign, to produce his own stuff. And he really should, because he's got the go. He doesn't stop. He's not into drugs. Okay, let's take a step back. The only thing that he does that's not right is he smokes cigarettes and he's got antidepressant pills. Oh, well. But if that's the bottom of it, he doesn't drink, he doesn't do any other drugs.
He carries a glick on safety, although
you know, because if he went like his dad, he'd be in the Crips.
Yeah. So some of the lyrics I found fun. So, like, Make It HD makes its appearance a couple of times.
Yep.
And then in that Triple Double song, one of the lyrics is, I'm a black Bowie with a little Kobe. But the thing is, when I first heard it, I'd misheard the lyrics as, I'm a black boy with a little goatee. And I'm like, oh, that's kind of like a self-referential,
like,
a
you
bit
know who I am if I walk down the street?
Yeah, but it had a humility to it. Then I looked up the lyrics. He's a black Bowie with a little Kobe.
And he's like, oh, that's gangster.
Now he's stomping the path.
But he is a bit of a Bowie, but being Bowie changed the game a lot, and he's doing his own thing too.
Yeah, I mean, a bit of bragging, and I guess like it doesn't.
Who doesn't? Like, when your friend's ASAP Rocky.
Look, I enjoy it in this setting, right? But like, if I was to have a conversation with him, I hope he's not, he doesn't lead in with that.
Well, no, you're right. You could definitely say he is confident in himself, and he doesn't shy away if people don't agree. He just like, that's okay. Like, we got different opinions.
What'd you make of Policia?
Didn't understand half of it, but I kind of get where we're going. He doesn't have a lot of respect for the Policia.
Yeah, I wrote down that this is what Rage Against the Machine would write if they were an indie band.
Indie band that spoke Spanish.
Oh yeah, heavy amounts of Spanish, but yeah, I very much got guerrilla radio vibes, but like with a heavy dose of indie or Bulls on Parade, very very, but with that indie flair. So it was pretty fun. It was pretty fun, and the song itself is pretty upbeat, so it kind of keeps you interested.
It's a lot of it's really upbeat. I mean, there's not many that were really drowned out. Bruise Boy.
Oh, I like Bruise Boy.
It was
Summer Dreams and Saw Your Bird. I really like. I like the slow down track at the start and then leads into the upbeat.
That's what I wrote down. It's like, let's rewind. It's almost like when they're playing on the cassette and it's finally coming to the end, and then it's like, oh, let's go back to the start. Dun, dun.
I quite like Bruise Boy. I thoroughly enjoyed that song. There were a lot of songs on this album that I liked. There weren't many where I was like, this is amazing. Top of the pops. I think there are some very good tracks.
Yeah.
But all in all, I thoroughly enjoyed this album. There were a couple of down songs that I probably will never listen to again. What was your least favorite track? Unless you liked them all, at which point you can say none. Like that's a valid answer.
Each and every one of them has a certain moment in the song where I go, agreed. Yeah, that's really cool. I really like that. But none of them really stood out where I liked the whole song. So even for Power Freak, even though I go, it's one of my favorite songs off the track, I didn't really like how it kind of ended. Whereas I loved it at the start. It was like real heavy, real rocky, real getting into it. And then it just kind of...
So I thought that song, Power Freak, had one of the more interesting lyric hooks. Where it's like, how many times do I have to say we're not enemies? And then like the next run through, how many times do I have to say we are enemies? Like there's just it's just that clever sense of the lyricist rewriting his own lyrics mid-song. That was the feel I got from that, which was its own interest. And the song mixes its pace up throughout as well. Like I think that's a really good. Really good
I do like it. It's just that when it comes to the point of someone's in the background trying to do AK-47, and I'm like, it just sounds like a Pee-wee 50cc motorbike doing a backfire.
See, I don't mind the samples every now and then, as long as they're interesting.
That sample.
Oh no,
I don't know.
Oh, maybe I'll have to listen to it afterwards.
So a lot of time when people are having, say, battle raps, someone would be in the background, one of their boys would be like, yeah.
Okay. So there's a bit of that.
Yeah, like, watch out, you just got fucking shot up.
Yeah, no, fair enough. So for me, like, there were probably a couple of tracks that were ordinary for mine. Yeah. So Pegasus, I won't listen to again.
Yeah, I'll admit that. That's probably up there.
Yeah, and the last song, sadly, Pyrotechnics. I don't think I'll listen to again.
That was one of them. I was like, it's a little psychedelic.
It was so. The song is just sort of revolving around the fact that it's all going to shit, and he's enjoying the burning of it.
Yeah,
and ignoring the theme, right? Like the song kind of just drones on, and I don't think he has the most melodic voice, and so when his long drawls through the chorus go, it ends up just being a bit of a challenging listen. Yeah, and it's sad too because I was really hoping for maybe some sort of crescendo, and I think the idea was.
I think
good.
Everyone wants a crescendo at the end.
Yeah, the idea was good. The execution probably less so. Did you have any other sort of like prevailing thoughts about the album generally, or any other experiences?
It was definitely interesting.
Yeah, the first listen takes you a lot of places.
I read that when I had a quick look at background. It was like, Rick Ross at a rave, and I was like, okay, I've never listened to Rick Ross.
Yeah,
unfortunately, we may get around to that one day. But Rick Ross at a rave, and I was like, okay, I can get behind this. And then I'll just try and picture myself at a rave party listening to some of these songs, and definitely straight off, and I was like, that's a good opener. And then Burst, I'm like, that would be just like.
That'd be sick.
That would just be epic. I could so many people just chewing their heads off, dancing. It's a massive rave dance off.
Oh, absolutely.
People stomping the ground doing shit. And there are those gems that I would be, if I was at a rave, I want to hear that song.
Yeah, there are songs that I would put into rotation that are, I feel, interesting enough for me. So, like, I mean, my predilection is, I haven't ever listened to a hip-hop record and gone, I get it, So what this does that interests me is that all the lyric sensibilities are hip-hop based, but the music composition is wide and varied to a point of...
You can't put
I was interested.
Yeah.
Like the whole way through. So much so that, like I said, the best track smuggled in was probably the most hip-hop of the lot. And I think, in my mind, he'd earned the right for me to just like sort of accept that. So yeah, I thought this was all in all really, really good. Probably one of my things is I really like to sing along with the songs.
Yep.
Challenging. He does use the N-word a lot. And Kendrick Lamar tells us, don't go up on stage and start shouting it if you're a white boy. So,
if it's in the song, I'm going to sing it. Unfortunately, if people don't like that, don't put it in the song.
So I have a little bit more of a challenge with that. And I tend to agree with your point, but the social wiring in my brain still has that feel about it.
Somebody's just gonna pop over your shoulder, being like, "You can't say that."
Yeah, there is definitely a sense of that, and I understand it. I know. I guess there's a part of me that tends to then avoid songs with excessive use like that because I really get a lot of enjoyment out of like singing along with songs, and you get that look over your shoulder feel.
Gene Dawson being Gene Dawson, I don't think he should really be classified into any genre as well.
No, and you know what? If he released a new album, this would be the biggest like compliment given his background and music. I would happily put it on play.
Yeah.
This album sold me that he's clearly good at what he does. Yeah. There's absolutely no doubt about that.
And if he listens to A$AP Rocky, which has told him, and he quotes many times, "Don't lose your heart," which is you are who you are, so don't change for the majority of people, because there are other people telling him that he should just stick to the hip-hop thing, and he's done his own stuff now, and it works. don't be the norm, be
Absolutely.
abnormal.
And I think if like there were more people in, see, this is the thing too. Like I'm completely ignorant of the scene, right? So I hear this and I haven't heard anything quite like this before. So this is coming from a complete place of ignorance.
This is new to me too.
Yeah, so I guess what I'm trying to say is I'm about to make a sweeping statement that may just be wrong, and I accept that. But like, if this is a direction that hip hop were to head in, that would excite me. I would be interested to pick more up.
Well, we will pick more up. He's got a publishing deal with Rick Rubin.
No, I mean, like, let's imagine that this ended up being something of a pioneer in the hip hop space, and there was a shift towards incorporating this music style into more hip hop album construction.
Cardi B is going to be bringing in something?
I doubt it, but if there was some subtle shift in that direction, I may become more interested in the genre generally. And that's the other thing too. Like, to whatever extent I can objectively review the music, it is still through the filter of the fact that this just isn't a genre generally that I've had much enjoyment with, which is why I was surprised to have enjoyed this one so much. And I suspect it is because of the experimental nature of it.
Yeah, okay.
You don't want to score it, do you?
I'm not going to score it, but I am going to just roll off some things that I learned
Sure.
about Gene. Is that he did go to college.
Cool.
Started doing classical piano.
Good to know.
Yeah.
I mean, that I think shows up a little bit in the fact that he can clearly build a composition.
Yeah.
Right? Clearly. Anyway.
Yeah, so he started that, stopped doing that, did Pan-African history, and then he went on to film, and then he's just like, fuck it, I'm not turning up the classes, I'm going into debt, and I'm spending most of my time music. So he's left, but he will probably one day go back to that. Jumped on his Twitter, and he had a whole heap of he's been going Twitter nuts. And he likes to drop in his favorite songs as he goes through. It's like,
right.
These are one of my favorite songs. And I went back and listened to what inspired him, like the Death Grips.
Okay.
And yeah, you can see where he got his unique sense of like, I listen to music most people don't listen to. Right. I don't listen to the mainstream. I just follow whatever I want to follow. And he's done 5 videos for this album. So the ones that he does have is for Clear Bones, Power Freak, Bruise Boy, Devilish,
Mr. Reaper.
Yeah, and Starface.
Yeah, I will give the album a rating. I think it's a very, very good album. For me, my enjoyment was... There are just elements of that genre that don't really appeal to me. But the composition is excellent throughout. The music is generally interesting. So I would say it's a 7 out of 10 for me. I think it's comfortably the best hip hop album I've listened to.
That's cool.
Without a shadow of a doubt.
For me, I couldn't tell if he was in a band or not because of just the music he was playing. And I couldn't tell the difference between the drums and a beat machine. So he had me fooled. He's that good of a musician. Some funny lyrics in there.
There are some clever lyrics in there. Absolutely.
Solid breakdowns. There's a couple of those hooks in there too, and the catchy tunes, and then just dirty and grindy, and like, yes. I'm gonna listen to this album again, most likely. And the album cover's pretty cool too.
The album cover is pretty cool.
It's just him with the helmet, and it's got the full reflecting on it, and it's supposed to be him reflecting on his life.
Is it?
Yeah, so it's the sky's blue in the background, so you know it's all clear.
The impression I get, right, is with an album title like Pixel Bath, I'm just imagining just a wall of like 16-bit color coming at you, and those reflective goggles seem to give that to me.
And you do get that in some of the film clips.
Well, even in the music. So for whatever reason, the samples and the oddities of the samples kind of come across like high glossy color, right? There's a color to them when you listen to it. So there was a part of me that thought the album cover actually perfectly reflected what the album was.
I was like, Pixel Bath. I was like, this is going to be a little psychedelic.
They said the album title in the album.
Yeah, right at the end. And I was so gutted.
Salty.
Yeah, I was like, Pixel Bath. I was like, fuck off! Why? It is time for next week's album. And it is Extinction Level Event 2, The Wrath of God.
By
Busta Rhymes. 11 years in the making. it will be the first Busta Rhymes album I've ever listened to.
Okay. We've been CDR. That was Pixel Bath by Gene Dawson. Go listen to it. It was very good.
It was a great album. Give it a crack.
See you next week.
Later, fuckers.
Oh, Busta Rhymes. 26 tracks. Oh.